Hey there, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you'll join me in my love of crafting and DIYs and hit that subscribe button. In today's video, I will share several DIYs to style a Winter Wonderland themed mantle that are budget friendly and fun and simple to make. This video is part of a collaboration, Winter Wonderland, hosted by Devin at Freckled Mom DIY and Blondie next door. I have linked both of their channels in the description below. Make sure you take time to check them both out. I know you will find something you absolutely love, and probably more than one something. This playlist is also full of other amazing creators, so be sure to check out the rest of the videos shared today. That link will also be in the description. Now for the fun, let's create. For the Snowflake sign, I used a page from the Dollar Tree calendar, the Let It Snow, and I traced the snowflake, and then I went around and cut it out just so I would know how to lay it on the sign. I don't really think this step made a difference at all, but I did do a coat of paint on the back of the calendar page as well as the sign because I was worried that the stuff on the back would bleed through. Once the paint had all dried, I applied the calendar page to the snowflake with Mod Podge and then did a coat over the top and tried to smooth it out the best I could. With a piece of sandpaper, I went in the crevices there to get, I had some edges that were sort of hanging over, and so I just sanded them down. Then I went with a chippy brush and just put a little bit of white streaks on it, just to distress it a little, and then I went over it with sandpaper because I wanted it to look really worn. Finally, using a baby wipe and a little bit of brown paint, I antiqued the edges. I don't have antique wax, nor have I ever tried it, and I really want to do that, but this works pretty slick because you can kind of wipe, and if you wipe it quick, it kind of comes off and it sort of fills in any cracks. And I really just kind of like the way it looks. It almost looks burnt on this light wood. It almost looks like the edges are burnt. I also went over the rest of the sign really lightly with the brown paint and the baby white. This turned out very differently than I initially thought of it in my head, but I'm glad that it did. I am really happy with the way that it turned out. With the metal house, which is actually a piggy bank, I kind of, if they would have had two, I think I would have bought one and kept the wording on there. But they didn't have to. So anyways, I used a glass cleaner and a razor blade to scrape it off, and it took some work. Once I had it all scraped off, I just went ahead and cleaned the glass up. Next, I grabbed a piece of cardstock and this tree tissue paper, which I think is really pretty, and I secured them together. And then I took the back out of the house and traced it. Then I cut it out. My initial cut was a little bit large, so I had to go back and trim it up a little bit. There's sort of lips on the edge that it needed to fit inside. So I went ahead and trimmed it back up. And then I took some of this snow I got from Walmart and added it to the house, as well as a few of the buffalo snowflakes on top. Using double-sided tape, I attached the backing I had made to the back of the frame. I trimmed a spot that was still a little bit big and then replaced the back of the frame. I'm pretty in love with this piggy bank house. I feel like it's easy to change up with the seasons. You know, you could have a whole bunch of house-shaped whatever's back there and fill it with whatever you want. You know, I'm thinking lights, vase filler, flowers. I mean, the options are endless. For the wooden house, I used a crazy diluted white paint. I just wanted a tint of white. And I mean, you can hardly tell. Honestly, it's so little. Then using the same tissue paper I had used for the metal house, I cut out one single tree for my wood house, and then I attached it with Mod Podge. and did a coat over top. This is me showing you what I did, but I'll show you when I do the second one. So basically I used one of these snowflake stickers and stuck it on there, and then I took white paint on my round sponge brush, and stenciled over it. I just wanted lots of different textures on this piece. My little assistant had to join in on the fun as well and picked up on it real quick. Okay, back to the project. I then did a light sanding over the snowflakes, and then I took the end of my paintbrush and added a bunch of dots. And I just have to say that this is really fun. I really enjoyed this part. I kind of just want to take paintbrush and put dots all over everything now. With Elmer's glue, I put a little bit on the bottom just to resemble a little bit of snow under the tree, and then used the fake snow to cover it. Then with Elmer's glue, I randomly went over a few of the dots with a dot of glue and then covered them with fake snow. Again, I just really wanted that texture. I think this wood house turned out not too shabby. There was a moment there that I was not too sure what it was going to end up looking like. This little house was from Dollar Tree, and I had painted it black a while ago for another project. I just added a snowflake sticker to the front to cover the star to make it a little more wintry. Then using Mod Podge and buffalo snowflakes, I covered the roof. This little guy was just really a filler. Just a fun, simple, easy way to change up the Dollar Tree houses very inexpensively. I made some garland ornaments to go with my season changeable beaded garland. I just used a real thin coat of green on the trees, and then on the beads and the snowflakes, I dipped them in a very diluted white paint mixture. Then with a piece of twine folded in half, I loop knotted it on a gourd pin, and then I placed the bead over that. And then once I had that ready, I strung it through the snowflake, and I simply just tied a knot. You kind of have to work it down there, tie the knot, and then sort of slip it down so that the knot was right on the back where the hole is right there. Then I cut off the excess and tucked the little bit left up inside the bead. I took some Mod Podge on a paintbrush and sort of scraped it off on the edges of the tree. And then using fake snow, I put that over it just to give it a little snow look on the edges. I repeated this process with the snowflakes. I ended up doing two, one completely covered and then one where I just put the snow right in the center there. Let me know in the comments what you like more, because I'm still undecided. Then I just took the end of one of the gourd pins and scraped the snow out of the crevices. Once everything was good and dry, it was time to switch them out with the Christmas ones. So these just hang on the gourd pins. So you just take them off of the rings that I placed on the beaded garland when I made it. I'm so sorry, it's hard to hold the phone and record this at the same time, but here I am taking off the ones I had up for Christmas, and then I am putting the new ones up, and so there they are. All right, here's a close-up so you can comment. This is the snowflake it's just sporadically covered all over it, and then this is the snowflake where I just put it in the center. And I'm torn. I think I would like it even without it too. But I do kind of like that glimmer that the fake snow gives, especially at night. And check out outside. It is a winter wonderland outside today. It has been snowing for hours. Trees. Trees have to be involved in a winter wonderland. I just love the way trees look covered in snow. Anyways, these pretty red branches I get out of the yard, I thought it would look kind of cool to put them in a jar. And so I created a ribbon for them and hot glued it on. Anyways, I got it up on the mantle. I even did a video to show you guys and everything. And I just didn't like it on my mantle. My fireplace is white. It's white. it was just too white. My toddler thought the tree should be decorated with the hot glue fingertips. He had a great time, and in the time it took me to do that, this is what he did to my kitchen. Crafting with a toddler at home brings some challenges. I was also reminded why I never use hot glue around him. How are they so quick? Thankfully, I caught it quickly. Just for a little extra, I added these snowflakes I made last year. They are basically just grade school snowflakes with Mod Podge and then the buffalo snowflakes, and I think they're gorgeous. So I ended up redoing the look of the vase. I just wanted to wrap it in burlap, but turns out I don't have any. Note to self to get some. And so, but I did have this wine bag from the Dollar Tree, and I'm sorry, I must not have turned on record because I did show you the bag and I showed you where I cut it and that sort of thing, but I don't have the video. So anyways, I just cut it down so that it was shorter. Like I said, it was a wine bag and it has like a little saying on the back in red. Well, it would be on the front. It's going to be on the back for me. And I just cut it down and then cut out the liner. And then on the side that I was going to use for the front, I cut the seams out as well. And I'm sort of showing you here how I tied it. So but I think you can get the hang of it. You just kind of put your twine around and tie it in a knot and then a bow after you put the branches in. I like it so much better now. So I'm very happy with this. And my toddler was very happy that I had to redo it as well because he got to trash the space again. For my stump tree, I used one of the mini Dollar Trees that you can get, and my mantle is super thin, and so I made the back flat so that it could set up there. Our tree was too tall, so we had this piece cut off, and it was really handy because it already had a hole in the bottom. So I simply took the tree out of the Dollar Tree stand and stuck it in the stump. Using the Dollar Tree garland, I cut extra branches to fill in the gaps. I just cut double the size branch that was near it and then just put it on and twisted it around. A couple of them I would bend in the very ends. I don't know, it just looked better because my cuts, made it kind of dull at the end there. And then I just filled it in, like I said, in all the gaps until I was happy with it. Finally, I just bent the branches the way I liked them. And then it was ready for flocking. I flocked the red branches as well as my stump tree. And then I had a couple other little trees that I flocked as well. Now for the best part, seeing it all up close and personal, and then all put together. When I think of winter wonderland, my head immediately goes to the mountains. When I was little, my dream was always to have a little cabin in the mountains somewhere. And as a young adult, before we had children, we were able to purchase some land in the mountains. But with the loss of a job as well as a buy-sell on our current home falling through, it quickly slipped out of our hands. I have incredible memories from the time that we owned that acreage, though, like I said, it was before kids and we were just dog parents, and my husband and I and our 2 dogs used it like our very own national forest. So I knew my winter wonderland had to have a lot of trees. And of course, little cabins. It also needed the glimmer of snow. When my daughter was little, I was driving her to preschool one morning and I said, "Oh, look at the snow. It's so sparkly." And she looked out the window and she said, "Oh, Mom, it's so gorgeous. But can you imagine how long it took that person to spread all that glitter?" And I will never forget that. And that is the reason that the snow had to have that glittery effect. Anyways, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It reminds me of my home state. It reminds me of my dream. It reminds me of my children. It reminds me of my own childhood and my wonderful family. It reminds me how quickly things can change. So I guess it's more than just a mantle decoration for me. I really hope you have enjoyed this video and that you will subscribe and join me on future videos. This is a pretty new channel, so I am just starting to get the word out. So if you see something you like, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with your friends and family, I would be very appreciative. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend here watching my video. Let me know in the comments below which project is your favorite. Thanks so much. Again, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.